I mean, I want to get it edited one day and use that as the new intro, but I can't find it.
To the Greater Reading
I'm 100% down for doing that.
I love it. I was always a big fan of it.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was.
You hated that thing.
I don't like the words.
Hello and welcome to the Greater Meaning Podcast. My name is Nathan, as always, with my actual host, Andrew, and my co-host, Joshua.
What?
And today we're...
I mean, all of us are the actual hosts. So
and today we are going to be wrapping up Deuteronomy.
Well, more than wrapping it up, we're going to kind of cover the whole thing. We haven't started yet because today we are finishing the Torah. We are finishing the Pentateuch. As we've journeyed so far.
We haven't started Deuteronomy yet.
No, we're wrapping it up, but it hasn't started yet. So
you just kept saying Deuteronomy before the episode that in my head I was just like, oh yeah, we're finishing Deuteronomy.
Nathan, thank you for introducing our episode.
You said it like 18 times, Deuteronomy, and I didn't know what you were doing.
The Septuagint is the Greek translation of the Pentateuch, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That's
we're wrapping up.
We're wrapping up.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing with you at this point. I know we're wrapping up first.
It's a big episode, and I've said that a lot. Moses but honestly,
in a snack wrap, and
we're finishing.
A big
exactly. I don't know.
We're murking him.
Well, we're not. He's kind of murked himself, I think. We'll get into it at the end of the episode. But it's interesting because this is going to be... We're finishing the biggest series we've covered so far, or at least the longest series, and that's the series of Moses.
Can we talk about what we're about to talk about?
Oh, man. We're covering the book of Deuteronomy. This is shortly after the events of the book of Numbers. We have the Israelites posed and ready. This is the new generation that rose up after the old generation died in the wilderness wandering because of their rebellion and because of all their unfaithfulness to God through multitude of different events.
So get your ice ready and go ahead and heat up that ice.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I hear like a real cricket in the background?
Yes.
I got crickets. What can I say? I can't find them, so I'm not going to spend my time looking for them. So
you know, it's funny. Cricket. There's a cricket in the garage, whereas I am staying too, that I cannot find.
Bro, I genuinely thought that you put in a cricket audio because you were unimpressed. So that's a legitimate, real cricket. That's not telling at all.
You know, it's fortunate to have a cricket in the home.
Isn't that like Chinese, like folklore?
With the people that
I remember that from Mulan.
The people that were with Moses. So you know how we have Generation X, millennials, and all that. Their generation was called the Exodus generation.
So
their Generation Exodus.
That was a good one. I actually like that
Xers.
one.
They're Gen X.
Yeah, that's
Gen Exodusers.
This is great.
You know, it's always in repeat.
Doing.
It's like a cycle that repeats itself. The whole generation thing. And then you know that the next generations are going to be Omega or Alpha and Omega or something like that. One of those.
You know, when you flush the toilet here, the water goes one way, but in Australia, it goes the other way.
Deuteronomy. So we're going to cover the book of Deuteronomy today. Being that we're a Bible story podcast, yeah, we're not going into that. I've let you guys kind of spearhead the introduction here. We're talking about toilet water. All right.
I was talking about generation.
Deuteronomy.
I was on point.
I'm telling you right now.
Does it? Is that even true?
Yeah, it is because the southern hemisphere.
I don't believe you. I think so. I don't know. I've heard that. I've never verified.
True. Did you practice that before we started? Like you were waiting.
I think he did.
No, I did not. The thing that made me think of it was when you said cycle and he went like this, and usually when I say cycle, I go like this because I do it with the left hand. So
but you're not left-handed.
I was supposed to be. I do a lot of things left-handed.
That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean supposed to be?
My parents did not let me be left-handed when I was a kid. They would hit me, so I write with my right hand.
If I'm on the phone with someone in China and I said, "Hey, turn to your left," should I say my right?
Yes.
Turn to my right,
which is their left.
So the book of Deuteronomy is, like I said earlier, because we're a Bible story podcast, mostly,
if the earth is round.
we're not going to go through and dive deep. This isn't going to be a multiple part. We're going to try to cover the entire book of Deuteronomy in one episode, because the book of Deuteronomy is essentially a series of 3 different addresses of Moses, or 3 different speeches that Moses gives to the Israelites. These are his final addresses, or the final speeches that he gives to them. What?
You type out every Bible verse.
No.
That's all cool. Because Genesis
that he
had
gives
20 episodes, but Deuteronomy will get 1.
Well, it's because half of it is recounting. The book name Deuteronomy actually means the second law, or a retelling of the law that was already given throughout Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. This is, again, like I said, this next generation, they're present, they're ready to enter into Canaan, to cross over the Jordan River, so that they can enter into the promised land and take the land that God had promised to Abraham and Isaac. And we're right here at the threshold of a monumentous moment for the history of the Israelites. They've gone through a lot. The old generation has passed away. These ones are young. They weren't there to see the splitting of the Red Sea and the fire and the pillar of smoke. They didn't see and hear God speaking to them directly. So a lot of what happens is Moses telling them and encouraging them to remember God's law and to follow it and to choose to obey, because the promised blessing that comes with what they're to inherit is tied to obedience to God's law and everything. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. Like I said earlier, the book Deuteronomy is separated into a couple different speeches. The first part, or the first address, is chapters 1 through 43.
Wait, chapters 1 through 43, or 1
through 4?
1 through 4.
4, verse 43, which is the end of the verse. I wrote it weird. I'm sorry. But this is mostly an introduction and a historical prologue. Moses retells and recants the events of the Israelites' exodus out of Egypt and into the wilderness, going to Mount Sinai, receiving of the Decalogue. Chapter 1 covers mainly just Israel's rebellion and failure into entering the land.
Did he ever tell the kids, like, hey, so like your parents were engulfed by a fireball?
It's like, yours died by the snakes. Your guys got just eaten up by the earth. And they're just sitting there like, no.
And yours, I killed. No, I'm just saying, he never did that.
No. I mean.
Did he ever kill besides that one guy?
I don't think he killed any of the Israelites, no.
He never, no, not Israel, but I'm talking, did he ever kill anybody else like ever again?
He fought, I think. I mean, he held up his hands in one battle, but.
He never, like, himself killed. Besides that one guy.
No, he didn't commit murder after that. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Other than that rock.
Well, yeah. He did hit the rock. Yeah.
He hit the rock. Yeah.
But then
it's not.
He hit it again.
The rock is not alive.
Anyway, chapter 1, if you remember that they got to the Jordan and the Promised Land early on in their journey, they didn't need to spend 40 years, but they get there and they send out spies. And here in chapter 1, they recount how they came. It's interesting the way they phrase it, because it shows that they decided, the way that it's written is like they came to Moses. If you look in verse 22, they're the ones in chapter 1, they're the ones that came with this idea like, hey, let's go out there and see what's out there in the Promised Land first. Let's kind of scope it out. And then they came back, as you remember, that 10 of them were like, oh, they're giants and they're afraid and they're scared. And
they were tired of doing whatever they were doing, which was wandering around in the wilderness.
Well, they were only there at the wilderness for a couple years.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
that's more than they needed to be.
The only ones that were actually like excited and were like confident and relying on God was Joshua and Caleb. So everybody else that went out and spied were just fear and afraid, and because of their lack of faith,
would you be a Joshua or Caleb, or would you be one of the other guys?
If I saw a bunch of giants,
yeah,
and then we're like, yeah, let's go kill them.
Who would say the other guy? Like when you ask him that question, I mean, I think everybody would want to be a Joshua or Caleb. No,
I mean, everybody would want to be.
That's what I mean. Like nobody would be like, oh yeah, I would definitely be one of the.
But 10. Let me tell you something that none of us have looked upon. Is a city full of giants that we
true.
have to go murder.
It's not even just that. Imagine coming from generations of slaves, subjugated, like your mindset, the way that your personality is. You don't think confident. They're not like Americans, like, oh, yeah, I'm an American. Let me see. I can do it. They're used to, and it's engraved in their character and their bones to be subjugated and kind of like
I thought
subservient.
we had this whole discussion on that they weren't all slaves.
We did.
We had
did.
a whole thing on that.
Yeah.
So,
But if they were.
Refer back to that episode. I don't know which one it is exactly, but yeah, it's the one.
Episode
it's one of the
5.
Moses ones for sure. One of the multiple Moses parts.
Yeah. No, it's the one with the Red Sea crossing we talked about.
I thought it was on with Joseph.
I don't think it was on with Joseph, no.
No, it was after Joseph.
Could have sworn it was like the Joseph
Because
time.
remember, with Joseph, the Egyptians were their friends, and they actually brought them in and gave them land.
Yeah, and it wasn't until years later. Remember, we talked about the history of the Israelites.
Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't.
And Gershom.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
tripping.
it kind of sounds like the whole immigration thing going on nowadays. Come in,
It
have some
doesn't.
land.
Like there's
Have a
there's
job.
nothing in common.
Wait,
It does
no,
have
no, no.
nothing in
Let me
common.
explain my.
No,
let me
no,
explain my
no,
comment.
no, no.
Let me
We're not talking about immigration politics.
I already brought it up. Everybody wants to hear.
I don't think everybody wants to hear.
Let me tie in my.
Everybody here doesn't want to hear about it.
They bring them in. They say, "Hey, you're welcome. Come on in. Here's some land. Here's a job. Here's all this awesome stuff. Free money. We'll give you a bunch of money. We'll give you all these commodities." And then years pass, and guess what happens?
Do they do that?
Yeah, they did.
I didn't know you get free land.
You don't, but continue.
All right.
Well, no, you get the places to live, right?
It's not your land.
Well, yeah, some housing.
Well,
Okay.
the Israelites obviously lost. When the Moses shows up, they don't have really land, right? They're slaves, quote unquote. But even nowadays,
You know, it's something for all the Israelites that like don't know any other way of life is just see a God like, come with me to the promised land. And they're just like, yeah. You think
America is
if
the
he would
promised
have
land.
done that without the plagues, they would have followed? Probably. I don't know.
I think that everything happened the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
I think they were like kind of excited to not be in their situation anymore. Like, so the moment there was something that seemed viable, they were like, all right, sweet.
But they knew nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So they don't know. It's like, I guess the grass is always greener. I don't know.
Let me
They all died, by the way. The ones that left all died in the wilderness.
Yeah, this is not talking about any
The
of
thing
them.
is,
Moses is reminding them. Hey,
I know. We're reminding the listeners.
your parents are dead because they didn't listen.
the interesting thing is that the fact that they knew exactly who those giants were when they went and saw them as slaves to come in.
Like their names?
Not their names. Oh, look, there's Michael. No.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It's George. Hey.
Jebediah, what are you doing?
You stretched out my sweater.
I'm saying,
my
like,
gosh.
they knew exactly who these beings were, as if, they've been around. You got the whole Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, you're saying they already knew that giants existed.
I mean, I'm sure word got back to them if there was a whole land full of giants walking distance from Egypt. Yeah, there had to have been.
Nah, have you ever heard
Why wouldn't the Egyptians
theory-
think the giants were gods?
I think some of them, I mean, based on like Egyptian architecture and like walls and hieroglyphic, there are giant
What happens
depictions.
if the giants built the pyramids? It's
They
like those
definitely
stones.
did.
Think about that.
Oh my gosh.
definitely-
Nathan, you're not the
most
first
likely
person to ever think that giants built the pyramids.
Oh my goodness. This like, I am the first person to ever say this and put two and two together. What if the giants built the pyramids and we've had it wrong?
There's this whole idea that the devil is a tree, and imagine with the Jack and the imagine with the Jack and the Giant beanstalk. There's a tree, a vine that grows and goes all the way up, and all the giants climb down. So
What are you talking about?
the devil is what?
Oh, the
allows
giants
this
climb
connection
down the
between-
devil.
Call me crazy. You can look it up.
I'm going to call you crazy, but continue. I love it.
Man, you go down some
So,
weird
okay,
rabbit holes.
hold
not
on.
gonna-
The devil
We
is
got
a tree.
Deuteronomy. We got Deuteronomy.
And now we're at the giant beanstalk, Jack and the giant beanstalk. How did we get there? Because the beanstalk is not a tree; it's a stalk. It's like a big vine.
Yes, it's a vine. You're right. That's
No, but
we got whole Deuteronomy to talk about. I can't go down.
Well, this is what we're doing because the whole first 4 chapters is just a retelling,
He's reminding them of everything.
That's what we're doing.
But it has nothing about a tree.
You're the one that said the devil is a tree.
I said that there is a theory, there is a concept. Okay, it's like a conspiracy.
I want to know more.
Hey, I have a question.
You want to know more?
Were there any more giants after? Like, did these people they saw in the lake, there were giants? Were they like, no, what are you talking about?
Well, there were giants in the land in those days and after. It's kind of like a famous verse.
So it's after.
And
too.
Famously later, David will encounter some giants. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Wait, who does David encounters? I'm just playing.
All right, thank
Goliath.
you. Thank you. You went to Sunday school.
You know, I think it's pretty crazy. The giants built the pyramids. We don't give them enough credit. Devil might have been a tree that they climbed down from.
You know,
the
a lot of
heavens.
the movies nowadays. So if you believe that giants are still around now, a lot of the movies.
I don't either.
Okay, well, a lot of the.
I just think we would have found them. Like honestly, I think they would have been like discovered. Continue. Sorry.
I mean, they're potentially asleep, just sleeping, waiting for.
They're hibernating.
Well, there's a lot of stories about them found in like the Middle East, like Afghanistan and Baghdad. Like there are like those lore like that soldiers encountered one and he killed a bunch and then they found the body and there's a guy that like flew the plane that brought the body back and he described it as having like 6 fingers, 6 toes, red hair, 2 rows of teeth. You guys ever hear that story?
No.
It's pretty popular, like modern
versions of that story.
There's also like infrared, like they were looking out over the mountains. They see giant people like walking every once in a while. Like you should look it up. There's legitimately a bunch of stories about it.
In the Middle East, though.
Yeah, like in Afghanistan.
That's my goal, is to see a Cyclops.
Cyclops?
Cyclops.
Chapter 2 of Deuteronomy covers the wanderings that they were in the wilderness, passing Edom, Moab, Ammon, and it kind of starts the conversation about the victory over King Sihon. Remember King Sihon and then King Og?
Who was King Sihon and King
They
Og?
were kings of that area of Heshbon. Like, remember with right before Balaam and Balak?
Remember Balak and Balaam?
They were like the kings that said, no, you can't come to my land.
Yeah, if we're talking about giants, I mean, King Og was a giant, king of Bashan. Remember, he was over.
Yeah, he held on to the side of the boat of Noah.
Yeah, and then Moses killed him with jumping up with an axe and slicing his like Achilles. But then a mountain that he was carrying, it was like some crazy.
So
story.
Moses did kill.
That is
You guys just said Moses didn't kill.
I said he fought for sure. I mean, I was saying but that's not biblical. That's just a crazy Jewish mythology thing.
Oh, so that's Jewish mythology. It's not in the Bible.
It's not in the Bible.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
What?
With that Noah movie?
Oh, yeah.
Noah wanted to kill. He didn't want humanity to continue in that movie. That was kind of the opposite.
What are you talking about?
Like, have you seen the movie?
Yeah, the Noah movie. Like he remembered, like the girl gets what's her name? The girl from Harry Potter, Emma Watson. Hermione. The actress Emma Watson. Is that her name?
No, Sydney Sweeney.
Emma Watson in there.
Sydney Sweeney.
No, not Emma Watson. What's the name of the actress? You
doesn't matter. Say what you're trying.
Whatever.
To say.
She's pregnant, and Noah's like, if it's a
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
If it's a boy or if it's a girl,
gonna kill it. He's gonna kill it because she can get pregnant. If it's a boy, he can live until he dies because he thinks God's plan in that movie is to kill out humanity, and then they get to their only job was to create the ark to carry out the animals, and the animals would be the only things that live because they're the only ones that can't sin. That was the movie, and he doesn't want. That's what he. Oh man, I might be misremembering, but that's pretty much the plot.
It was the fact that baby was not it was not supposed to, in his mind, be on the ark at all because she got pregnant from somebody outside of the circle.
No, they were married because remember Methuselah touched her belly while he was looking for berries or whatever.
Yeah.
I encourage you to look it up. I think I'm right in this one, but I always think I'm right, so that's not new.
Let's debate Gladiator now.
Gladiator 2 was better than the first. Okay.
Oh, please.
You're just asking for it at that point. Anyway, great. King Og, chapter 3 covers.
Can we talk about the portals again? The guy created.
Oh,
was that Josh that did the portal one?
Yeah, those were fun episodes.
Well, I mean,
The priest
Are we at that
that
part
opened portals.
in Deuteronomy?
Yes,
We talked about it a little bit. Remember in the Balaam episodes when we were talking about how
I
Balaam
remember.
was trying to open up, like calling a curse was opening up a portal of negative spirits towards the camp.
Yes.
That's why they wanted to go to certain high places and altars, and he kind of like was doing witchcraft essentially.
I mean,
We talked about this.
yes.
You specifically.
You're the one that told me about it. I did research and I found out about it.
If you take God out of the picture of somebody doing a miracle, then automatically
Doing some
It's
sort of
witchcraft,
supernatural.
right?
Well, I mean, witchcraft. How do you define witchcraft? It's like
that's what I'm trying.
I never looked up the
I brought
definition
up
of
a
witchcraft.
Terrible example of taking God out of the picture, but how do you
It's
define
defined as
witchcraft?
practicing magic for evil purposes, especially using
Like-
spells. Yeah, I mean, witchcraft is like you're using abilities not sourced from God to do supernatural
Well, like
acts.
what about
Is
pastors,
us looking at his face right now witchcraft?
what about
No, this is
pastors
technology.
that let's say they say they have a prophecy or they had a vision from God? How many pastors say I got this vision for this church. God is using this church, and it's like almost a scheme to create a bunch of feelings in people to be able to give money. Would you say that is a sort of witchcraft? You're playing on people's emotions by talking as if you had a vision from God, where God actually had nothing to do with it.
I think that there can be human manipulation. And then I think specifically witchcraft is invoking the supernatural, using like sourcing from a non-divine source of energy or power, like a demonic source or a spiritual source that's unclean and wicked. And you're using that specifically for your own gain or purposes.
Would you say using
like
Chat GPT is a sort of witchcraft?
No, because it's just a more complex use of Google. Because the only thing AI does
Well, what
is
about
it
using
super
Google?
Google searches.
What about using Google?
It's the same thing. It's a research tool.
What about using a thesaurus or a dictionary or an encyclopedia?
I wouldn't say that's witchcraft. No.
Where you're looking and casting out correct grammar.
No. What?
It was like sorcerers look at a book of spells and whatever.
That's so
That's a
true.
good point.
Dang
Dang it! I hate that you made sense.
Majority of sorcery is all,
It's
all
like,
about
your spells
words
is
and
good grammar.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're putting more. You're using.
I
things
have
for
I'm
other
extra punny
Didn't
today.
we talk
I
about
like
it
it.
that one time where it's like a lot of like words
We're-
are
we got so
basically a
much
sort
stuff
of
to go
witchcraft, like the way even news anchors and everything, the way they say what they're saying, it's how they say it and the words that they're
Again,
choosing. It's witchcraft.
Yeah, like there is
What?
there is a certain truth to like
But then manipulation
again,
in a sort of
manipulation.
So, like,
No,
you're trying to say
because-
essentially advertisement is a form of witchcraft?
I would disagree because you can be persuasive as a human. You're
As
sourcing from your own
salesmen,
ability.
Would you guys say that you are using witchcraft?
I'll tell you what. If I'm using witchcraft in sales, I suck.
Yeah, I'm a horrible
Right.
wizard.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
You are a level 1 wizard.
We sold so many cars last month that I didn't. Like as a youth.
Let me tell you something. Oh, this is what I believe witchcraft. So, because like it's crazy that now Google defines it as for bad purposes. But like what? So you could, if you have a good purpose, it's not witchcraft. It's just, oh, that's just magic. No, dude. Witchcraft is invoking anything that's not of God.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Right.
like you're sourcing supernatural power,
Supernatural
not
stuff.
from a holy source, like not from God.
So all that
So
stuff with the
ChatGPT.
crystals is witchcraft. All the stuff with the manifesting is witchcraft.
Because you can source down to like technological advancement, ChatGPT is not witchcraft. It's because again, it would just be a lack of understanding.
Okay, if it has an algorithm,
Yeah.
I don't believe it's witchcraft. That's more like
It's a code.
ChatGPT was coded by some guy, right?
That's not,
But
I wouldn't
somebody
necessarily-
invoking and manifesting stuff with crystals and
the
whatever,
whole
and they're trying
universe,
to.
in a sort of sense, has an algorithm. Everything is, if you look at the Bible,
True.
it's all numbers.
Nah, it looks like letters to me.
I'm talking like Hebrew.
That was a pretty good one. I know what Josh is saying though, the numeric value behind Hebrew, but that was stupid.
Math is one of the greatest, most complex languages in the.
The beautiful, like you said, the beautiful thing about Hebrew
stuff, but in reality, it's not an out. Like it was already there, so nobody wrote that.
Yeah,
but ChatGPT was written by a guy.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about Hebrew is the fact that
you get the difference.
You have numerical value behind the letters as well.
Is created by a man normally.
No, they're trying to get spirits to do their bidding.
I'm sorry, but
they are calling upon demonic.
Every example that I've seen of any witch or wizard doing something, they're the ones doing it.
All they're doing is chanting and invoking, channeling evil thing. Like they're channeling spirits to do things. It's very different than somebody typing out a code. The code is not a spirit. So there are a bunch of demonic spirits. There's all these forces in the world, whether you believe it or not, right? I personally do believe that there's a bunch of demonic things that you could channel. And you see all this stuff about people in Hollywood channeling it, people constantly wishing for fame and whatever. And then eventually you keep praying to the devil will respond at one point.
We're not going to get too down deeper rabbit hole, but we are all energy, okay? And the supernatural realm, the spiritual realm, is a bunch of energy. All technology is energy. So when you're going to technology and you're asking it to something, blah, 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 you are now relying on that source of energy instead of relying on God.
Yeah, but you created that source of energy. Source. Witches don't create the demons. They were already there.
Again, yeah, it's the source of where you're pulling it from and for what. You can't curse somebody with a text message. You know what I mean? They can ignore that. You can't do supernatural things with AI. It could just ask it a question and it can answer it for you. That's not supernatural.
Because fundamentally what you said, essentially us having light bulbs and electricity is witchcraft.
I mean, I'm Amish now. I don't know about you
based on what you said, electricity, which I know you're an electrician by profession,
that would suck.
Is witchcraft. So, but that's not what it is, right? Because we created the ability to, whatever, electricity to whatever.
So if humans somehow create a certain way to, let's say, create humans, all right, like humanoids, how about that?
Okay.
Like if we clone people?
Any ability to try to do what God has done can be referred also as a sort of witchcraft. If you are trying to play God and be God, witchcraft doesn't have to just be like, it's just only summoning demons. Witches were referred as witches if they were like, let's say, like herbal doctors going and grabbing certain types of thing, making some type of soup in a cauldron. Those were also witches.
A lot of the lack of understanding behind it was considered witchcraft. You're right.
The concept of even what Balaam, let's say, is doing, where he's creating these altars and sacrificing what he is sacrificing in front of the altars. All that is like I was saying before, it's a source. It's a way of trying to channel a type of energy.
Yeah, but again, the source of that energy is not technology, so created, and not from divine.
Why? Well,
because so what you're saying is only true because you're making the rules that everything is energy. So if that is true, then what you're saying is true. But with no offense, it's not true. We're not just all energy. We're more than just energy. There's more to humans, and there's a big differences between us and spirits and demons and angelic beings and us, right? And everything on earth is very different in the spiritual realm, right? I mean, if there was hold
why is
battles.
it
Like
when-
let's say
when
so.
ghost
Like for case in
hunters
point,
go looking for ghosts. They don't go with
That's all
thermal
fake.
ray or anything. That's for whoever wants to believe it's fake or real. But they go with energy readers.
I don't know why they do that. I
Because
can't
it's easy
say
to
if that's
manipulate
real or
for the camera.
not.
Oh, there's something over there. Those are the worst.
Yeah, I can't.
Those are the worst shows ever
If you ever
made.
put like happy music to those shows, the shows lose all like effects. Like the music does a lot.
Yeah.
To set the
Music does a lot.
mood.
Anyway,
Like one time I got creeped out by watching one of those shows, and all that happened was a light came on in a window, and I was like, wait a second, it's just because the music is all somber that now I feel some type of way. But yeah,
music has a lot to do with it too. Anyway,
is music witchcraft? I'm
before-
just kidding.
don't get me started because you can. The problem, Josh is correct to the point of like misunderstood or non-understood technological or medicinal advancement was and can be perceived as witchcraft if you just. But I think it's like I said, it's something that's not understood fully.
Yeah, but
When you understand it fully, like you're the one that created the code, and it's like, imagine it's a super intricate domino effect. I laid out these dominoes, I pushed it. I'm not saying that that's witchcraft.
And this is the only point I want to make off that. The Bible, in the Bible, there clearly are necromancers, and
Witches,
and
seers,
stuff
yeah.
like that, right?
Case in point.
That wasn't those people were not doing the whole "let me read your tarot card" type stuff. They were truly witches. So that means that stuff is real. And if that stuff was real then, just like I believe the Bible, if it was real back then, it's real today, right? So today there are people that do still
case
that
in
stuff.
point, Tom Brady's wife. Have you ever watched Tom Brady talk about his wife?
No.
You should see. I'm going to send you something because I know you're a big Brady fan.
I know. Yeah, she did the whole ritual.
don't believe it,
No, but there's like a whole thing where he was like talking about it, and it was nuts. Like he goes to her and he's like, "Is this my year?" And it's like, "I'm sorry, it's not your year." Blah blah blah.
Yeah, no,
or it is my
I
year,
have
but
heard
you have to
that.
do everything I say, and I'll do my job and you do yours, and all this stuff. Like it's crazy. I saw it. I was like, "This can't be real. How did everybody miss this?"
No, it's
I
wild.
do remember.
All I have to
something
say is that you go talk to a bunch of old time Christians and talk to them about what the mark of the beast is, because a lot of them think it's a microchip.
Yeah.
You tell me that that technology isn't witchcraft.
Yeah, but they're wrong. That's not what it is at all.
How do you know? You know,
I'm pretty positive.
You know what's wild? Let me tell you what is freaking wild.
Don't you get the chip in your hand? You won't be able to buy bread, but you'll be going to heaven.
Microsoft just released a new microchip that just it has a quantum computer built into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know how wild that is? A microchip. It's the first one ever. That
I remember seeing when they came up with it.
It's like
super small. It was a crazy breakthrough. Yeah.
it's an insane breakthrough. In your phone, you can have your phone can basically be a stronger type of computer than a giant, super decked out gaming laptop. I mean, setup that anybody has times 1,000. Like it's
No, I remember when they came out. It was
now
crazy.
imagine if that starts.
I feel like we talked about that on the Tabernacle episode, didn't we? We did. You brought it up. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
Either way,
Just plug
there's
in
a
more
reason.
episodes.
There's a reason why we have technology to a certain point that we do nowadays. And if it was prophesied,
I agree with that,
if
too.
It was prophesied
I agree.
about
Yeah.
way back in the day. And for us to say that it is not witchcraft and it's not a source of the devil,
sorry.
and it's not a source of evil, because as much good as that can come from technology, evil, it has completely destroyed all of us to a certain sense that we aren't even, a lot of us aren't even able to be like socially like active as we were back in the day. So technology, antichrist.
No, so we've gone from giants to witchcraft to technology. Is technology witchcraft?
So that's the first part of Deuteronomy. All that.
Yeah, I mean, chapter 4, he buttons it up with a very nice like call to obedience and a warning against idolatry. If you read chapter 4 of Deuteronomy after discovering some of the events, and he highlights specific events. Obviously, he doesn't comb through everything, but
we're done.
What he does cover is specific towards the disobediences of what they encountered and where they messed up. But there's no other God like Yahweh. He covers again in chapter 4 the cities of refuge and the establishment of them, and then an exhortation
was a very interesting.
And to keep the covenant.
It's like playing tag.
So,
you're it. Let me run away.
Yeah, that was
Safe
fun.
zone.
Like in the murder cities. Well, it's if you were. I mean, if you just murdered, you don't just get to run away. But it was like one of those where if like you accidentally and
you do just get to run away. If you murdered someone, you can run.
But they weren't like you didn't get to just go. You had to like go through trial. Remember, it wasn't just like you're free.
You run
don't worry.
From that sanctuary city to the next one, and then to the next one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, I guess. I mean, they could do that, but they can only do that so many times before it's like I don't have another one to go, and you run out of all your chips or whatever. So, the second address.
If there were judges, there had to have been lawyers. Like had to have been. No way.
They're Jewish. There were lawyers.
There were
there was the trial. There was the judicial system of the Sanhedrin. That's kind of like, when Jesus was brought before all the Pharisees, like all the leaders of the temple and the Levites and the priests.
That came off wrong. I wasn't trying to say that lawyers is a profession that Jewish
well, you
people
said
go
made me
to,
think of a.
That was racist. It's fine.
I wasn't intending that way.
Jews,
it's just gonna be on the internet forever.
If somebody's a Jew,
Jewish people do a lot of professions besides lawyers, obviously.
Do other Jews look at him and ask him and say that he's just being a Jew? Because the whole.
Who?
I don't like this line of questioning. Let's change the subject.
No. What I was trying to say is they're good because like Moses intercedes on the behalf of Israel to God.
He wasn't. He was an intercessor.
Yeah,
but like
that's like. It's like,
Do Jews ask if you're other Jews if they're being Jewish? Is that your question, Josh?
Josh, I don't even know what question. We're trying to ignore your question.
Yeah, I'm trying to skip it over, but it's all right.
I'm trying to justify my racism right now.
Josh is like, no. I like where we're at right now. Let's dive more into it. Let's really flesh this out. So that's the first address. I hope that was cohesive and that made sense. But like I said,
I really regret saying the whole thing.
We're gonna get a little more into some of the content of the second address because a couple of things in the second address that Moses gives to the next generation of Israelites.
I'm gonna make it up in chapter 6.
Okay, back at it.
So the second address of Moses is from chapters 5 to I think it's like 28. It's kind of a long one. Most of the book. We're not gonna.
And the second address was the book of Deuteronomy.
It's a lot of the meat there. We're not gonna spend. There's a couple places I want to stop and I want to spend some time in. Some very important points that are covered. Chapter 5, he recounts the address of the 10 Commandments. And how he retells the 10 Commandments and discusses, again, remember how specifically that covenant at Sinai, God spoke that audibly for all the Israelite camp to hear. So they were all partakers of that covenant. They were all there present, listening to the voice of God, where they then were afraid of that and asked that Moses be the intercessor or be the one that mediates between what they say and what God says. And they say, hey, whatever you say, Moses, from here on out, we'll just listen to that. I love that cricket. That's
Don't you think it's a shame that modern Christians today, most of them can't tell you what the 10 Commandments are? They can tell you like 4.
But there's only 10.
Oh.
One of them something about a neighbor.
Yeah.
But that's chapter 5. Chapter 6, I want to take a second to stop at just because of how important a verse from that is. Jesus is quoted through chapter 6 of Deuteronomy, speaking about what is the greatest commandment. Chapter 6 in verses 4 through 9 covers what's known as the Shema. The Shema is a prayer that's typically done in the mornings and the evenings, often with the hands covering over the eyes. It's a very important Jewish tradition. It's also recited at the climactic moment of the final prayer of Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, and it is also traditionally the last words before death. It's recited, again, they put their hands over their eyes, they go down, and they say it. Nathan, if you would read for me chapter 6, verses 4 through 9, this is what's known as the Shema.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And those words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
That was so beautiful, and I hit my mic as you were reading. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is, remember, teach your children, pass this along. Don't forget your Lord in the prosperity. He covers these themes throughout the book. It's a caution against disobedience. It's like letting you know that, yes, you will be blessed. Yes, you are a people of God, but listen to me. Look at what happened to the previous generation. It is contingent on your obedience and your reliance upon God to not forget what he did, to not forget what he commands you.
It's the same thing nowadays.
Yeah, it's so important for not only just the Israelites at that time, because they're about to embark on this crazy conquest, this ridiculous, like they've grown, they've now separated, they've weeded out the weak, and now they're ready to go and fight. And Moses, at the end of his life, he's like, if I have anything to teach you, if there's anything I could say to you with everything I've experienced up until now, listen to the Lord your God. Remember, teach your children, write it on the doorpost. Remember, like the blood that was spread on the doorpost that saved them from death.
You know what's I would say for me, the craziest part about all of this, the whole doorpost and the gates that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Because at this point in time, they're a bunch of wanderers. They have tents. They have tents. They don't have houses and gates. Gates for what? Who's carrying around a bunch of gates? Maybe someone.
Well, there's one for the,
maybe Jacob the gate carrier.
Maybe baby Gates. But either way,
yeah,
it's very interesting. It's almost as if he's not saying it to them directly. He's saying it to the oncoming generations on a multi-level basis. In other
for
words,
sure, multi-generational. Absolutely. That's
crazy. Like that is,
it's a beautiful, when you sit down, I encourage you guys to read the book of Deuteronomy. If you spend time in it and you break it down the correct way, it's really beautiful to see like how much Moses cared and how much he impressed. Remember that he spent time in the presence of God like nobody else had before, and nobody else will.
Illuminated. He knew something nobody else
was it still
did.
illuminated at this time?
He's talking in a sense of
whenever he talks to God, it would like wear off over time.
He's a legit prophet. What he's doing right now, he is prophesying.
Yeah, exactly. These words that he wrote, again, the Bible tells us that every word of scripture is Holy Spirit inspired. So these words that he wrote, that he spoke, were prophetic words, and they were also inspired by the words of God. They were God's words coming through the vessel of Moses. Well, and it's important because...
Okay.
Do I believe what?
I didn't say what do you believe. Well, even with... I'm not trying to bring up a whole other topic of debate because I know we're trying to get through Deuteronomy, but even with the whole history of Deuteronomy, I don't know why I said it like that, but even with the whole history of it, every word of scripture is Holy Spirit inspired. So if it was written a certain way at the beginning, I don't think we even talked about it, but with King Josiah, so a lot of people believe that King Josiah was the one. The Deuteronomy that we have now was King Josiah's alteration of it. In other words, he didn't change the stories and what exactly the concept of what was written, but the literature, as in the verbiage of it, parts of it, he did were I guess kind of altered.
I've heard that. You're talking about the what is it called? The
treaty?
Yeah, the what treaty? The something with an H.
The Hittite vessel treaty.
The Hittite vessel treaty. The way that Deuteronomy is written in the format of the book of Deuteronomy, how it's laid out is similar to how the Hittite
it's like an interpretation
treaty was written.
Where we have like New King James Version and everything. Basically, all they did was take an old text, an old type of way of speaking, and interpreted it into their new style of writing and speaking.
I think, and the only problem, I mean, I'm sure that he collected and he assembled it, but the Torah, the Pentateuch, once it was written and finalized, it was kind of held in the most precious, and it was kept in exact order how it was.
Of course it was, because he was
from the way it was written, because it was their holy text.
He was the most righteous king that Israel ever had.
I don't think, I get that, but I don't think they changed the outline. I'd have to do more research into that. I think that it was put that way from the beginning, and maybe Josiah just discovered that, but I don't know if he changed the authorship, or not the authorship, but like the format. Again, I'd have to do more research on it. I can't speak on it specifically.
What about the whole creation and then creation again?
We've talked about that.
I know. I'm just throwing gas to the fire.
You're good. That's my answer. We talked
a lot
about
of
that.
these.
Oh, good answer.
Well, again, it was something where it was like, remember that it was like a more general, and then it was a more specific story creation. Because when you look at the story of creation, again, I would refer back to the first episode we ever released. That story is, it actually might be the second episode we talk about it, because we're talking anyway. That story, the way that the creation story is listed out is not to be, this is exactly what happened for the detail. It was written for us to understand God's relationship to creation and our interpretation of how God is present through creation, and to kind of set up the Bible. It's not something to where you should look at the first chapter or the original telling of the creation story as like a general overview, and then the second chapter, when you go into the more in depth, then it goes into like specifics of how man was created. Let's begin the story. Let's dive deep a little deeper. You know what I mean? So it's an easy way to look at it very broadly like that.
No.
Anyway, so chapter 6, we move into chapter 7 of Deuteronomy. There's something I want to pause on there, because after giving him this commandment, this thing that they would repeat as a prayer over and over again. What?
I wanted to introduce a new thing, because like I did think about today.
Okay.
Anytime y'all say pause, I go bear pause.
But we didn't say pause.
You did. You say you want to pause on chapter, because you say that a lot.
Oh, we want to take a pause on this chapter.
Bear pause. All right, sorry. Just ignore me. I keep breaking your momentum, dude. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
You already beat me on. I thought I had the most awkward point with the devil is a tree, but you beat me there.
Yeah,
no, dude, that was awesome. What are you talking about? He is.
No,
they gave us no explanation as to why you think. You just said it's a theory. All right,
the devil's a tree. And giants climb down the tree.
This is not what the episode is about. Normally, I would go down a bunch of different rabbit holes.
Yes,
but obviously, I have some obsession with trees. With the trees of
why is that? Didn't you almost die from one?
Yeah, a tree almost killed you recently. You need to let it go.
Listen, you want to go down a deep rabbit hole? All you got to do is Google "devil is a tree," and you
isn't that witchcraft?
Go down. What? Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry.
Sorry for using witchcraft to search up evil.
Okay. Chapter 7. Of Deuteronomy.
I hate that.
That will take you down a deep rabbit hole, in other words.
Urban legend and
devil's
tree crime behind it.
I think that's called the devil's tree.
Oh yeah, that's the devil's tree.
You ever see that mountain that looks like a giant stump?
No.
Okay, well, you're already 5 steps behind. I can't even explain it to you if you already know what that is.
You ever know that mountain that looks like a stump?
Listen, you're not even close to beginning the journey that you need.
You're not prepared for this.
There's something
for this
about
world
trees
that I'm in,
and we just haven't caught on to it. Trees
you're not properly prepared for this journey.
We're doing a whole episode on trees.
Trees give us life. They give
All
us
I
the
see is
air
stuff
we
on
breathe.
the devil's tree, but it's not. The devil is a tree.
No.
And it's all in New Jersey. There's like a tree in New Jersey that looks lame.
There's a whole thing on it with the seed, with the woman crushing the seed. If you look at every family generation map,
the woman doesn't crush the seed. The seed of the woman crushes the head of the serpent.
the seed of the woman crushes the head of the serpent.
Seed and crush are in that sentence.
And it doesn't mean tree seed. It's the baby that comes through the genealogy.
Verbiage. It's all verbiage.
Dude, all the words are there, Andrew. Shut up.
Genealogy. What do we call genealogy? Your
genealogy?
Genealogy.
Your genealogy tree, right?
Genealogy tree. Yeah, we created that. That's like a fairly new, like the family tree stuff.
It's because it's an easy illustration from one that branches out into others. That's the only reason. It doesn't mean that there's something behind trees.
Sure. We created it. Yeah.
No, it's an ancient.
Like how we created the idea to go eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
It wasn't our idea. God said not to. The serpent's like, don't you wanna?
And Jesus is what? The tree of life.
All right, you got us there.
No, he's not.
You know
he's
what?
the true vine, and
I'm on his side now.
He's not the tree
I don't know what to say.
of life.
Every time they go,
we
to
are
the
like
trees,
a tree planted by
God
the living
shows
waters.
up every time they go to the trees.
Okay, you have to understand that illustration is wrong.
What are you talking about? He doesn't show up every time they go near the trees.
God did.
God show up to Moses in a bush.
I know, but Abraham, he was always by the trees. Well, that's just because Abraham liked
bushes,
us. Oh my God,
plants,
we're not doing this.
It's all.
Were there any trees in the desert with John the Baptist?
With Jonah, a plant showed up and covered him.
He ate locusts
in the desert.
What about the whale? Was a tree there?
There must have been a tree inside the whale.
I'm so sad that we're talking about this.
All right. So
I don't even want to talk about chapter 7 anymore.
No, they're not warning against foreign nations and idolatry.
No, that's there's a place in chapter 7 that is beautiful. I would like you to read it.
Of course.
It shows their position to God. It's how God views the Israelites, and it's kind of like a humbling and at the same time beautiful moment to kind of show them how they are in the eyes of God.
Verse 6?
Starting with verse 6, yeah.
Until when?
Verse 6 to verse, it's a long verse, but it's verse 8.
Okay. For you are a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for himself, a special treasure above all the peoples on the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love on you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any other people, for you were the least of all the peoples. But because the Lord loves you, and because he would keep the oath which he swore to your fathers, the Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you from the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Because the Lord loved you, and because he is, he fulfills his covenants. That you're not special. Like, they need to remember this as they go on, that there wasn't something that they did to earn their selection by God to be a chosen people. What they do, and in obedience to God, is what's going to separate them from the rest of the world and all the other nations. And how God loved them first is the reason why they are chosen. Just like with us, because God loved us so much, he sent his only son, not because we did something to deserve it. That's why it's grace. That's why it's a gift. And he's instilling this in them early on to understand that, remember that you're not better than everybody else in the world. You're supposed to be a light to show my love and how a relationship with God and humanity should be to the rest of the world. Fortunately, they're not going to do that. But I
don't think Christians today act very humble. Like, it's not in vogue, at least on social media, Christianity, to be like humble about your salvation. It's more like, I gotta shine for the world to see, and look at all these blessings God poureth upon me, which is so not what that verse says.
No, for sure.
Like, we don't earn our salvation. That's like one of my favorite things to do. Like, we did nothing.
Well, yeah, of course.
We did nothing to earn our salvation. We did nothing to deserve Jesus's love. In fact, we do everything to not.
Yeah, if anything, we do anything to press and to try to, we're constantly spitting in his face.
Always making mistakes.
Yeah, it's the same thing that carries on into chapter 9 specifically. It's not because of their righteousness, especially because it recounts the rebellion of the golden calf, and then it counts a couple other rebellions as well. Chapter 10 of Deuteronomy covers God's mercy, and
chapter 11 is the essence of the law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he mentions in chapter 10 a very important, message about circumcising their hearts, not, understanding that don't be stiff-necked any longer, for the Lord your God is God of gods, the great God, mighty and awesome, who shows no partiality or takes no bribe. He implores them to understand that the message is deeper than just, doing the act and following it to a letter, but learn the God behind the law.
Doing the act.
Which they never actually do.
No, they don't. And that's why in chapter 11, again, he talks, like you said, about the essence of the law. Josh, you good?
Yeah.
'Cause you're frozen on our end.
No, I'm not frozen.
Okay.
Another theory came into my head that
What's your theory?
it's not my theory. I heard another guy talking about it of basically, I don't know whatever. I'll just say it, and you'll tell me if I went too far. Basically,
before you say it, does it have something to do with what we were talking about?
Circumcision and and partially some of that in a
partiality.
Sort of sense.
The words are there, right?
The words are there. It's a weird thing for me to bring up. That's why
say it. I'm in so much suspense at this point.
Now say it.
It's about the devil again.
Okay. Is he not a tree this time? What is he now? Is he a circumcision?
It's still in a weird sense. It's still a tree, but
if you say what you said earlier to me, I'm going to cut you off.
No. I want to hear.
No.
What is it? I want to hear that.
No, we'll talk about it off air.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I hate when people do that.
Okay, so basically, in the beginning, in the Garden of Eden, when the devil is telling her to go eat of the fruit and that it was good, and then she shared it with Adam, and then Adam ate of the fruit and he liked it as well. Some people believe that it was a more intimate thing that happened. It wasn't an actual eating of the fruit, but it was a combining. So, in other words, they had physical relations, and then Adam went and had
with the fruit
relations. Yeah, not with the fruit, but with
the devil.
With the devil, and with the interesting part, why they also relate to that on why that could have happened, is because what is the first thing that they did when they ate of it and they realized that they did something bad? The first thing that they did is they went and covered up their private parts.
This sounds specifically like a TikTok theory you would hear on the TikTok.
Let's just say I watch TikTok sometimes.
I know, that's so ridiculous.
Social media is so dangerous. There's so
so
much
out there.
with the music and editing of a video. You could say anything crazy, and if you don't know anything about the Bible, it could sway you so hard. It's so bad.
Witchcraft.
But okay.
It is witchcraft. Social media,
but there's so much that
I want to hear the other thing that you say you're going to cut him off about. Was more ridiculous than that?
Kinda, yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
I really don't want to even. I really don't want to say it on air. We'll figure it out later.
Honestly, this isn't even.
I'll text it to you.
TikTok. This is actually a very.
Just text me keyword.
This is what he debated, and he debated this with my father too.
Go ahead, Josh. You don't have to text me. Andrew's texting it.
I'm not even going to say that.
I don't want to read that. Oh my god!
Yeah, our listeners are going to go crazy after trying to figure out what it is. I'm not going to say it out loud.
That's the worst.
The person that I heard this from, there's a guy named Justin Brown. His name's Justin Brown, so I might as well use him as a reference.
Just in trouble.
Well, no, he goes really deep into the seed of the serpent. The seed, the seed of the serpent. So,
I got you.
I'm not saying I believe his stuff. I just brought it up. We're we're talking about?
It's out there. It's in the ether. People have said that before. I get that. You know what I mean? That's something that people said. I don't know what that had to do with them circumcising their heart.
It has nothing to do with the circumcising their hearts.
Because
we are
of the fact that
kind of free-flowing.
God told them to circumcise the very head of what can procreate. The very thing
the
that
sign of the
create
foreskin.
life.
Okay.
Yes. He asked them to cut it off. In other words, as a show of obedience to God, saying that I am dedicating my body and the rest of my children to you, God.
Can I interject a little bit?
Yeah, if you don't sit back like that.
So, sorry. So, what was God's promise to Abraham? I will make you a father of many nations. Your descendants will be as the sand of the sea, the stars of the sky, right? When God asked him to circumcise, it didn't have anything to do with like the ability to have children, because what is foreskin? It's extra flesh. He was asking him to remove that extra flesh that's unnecessary in your life in order to dedicate, like as a sign of the covenant that you're separate. This is something that most people have that you won't have. That's the correlation there with the private part, as much as, and it's just like in your heart, cut away anything else that's fleshly, that's not necessary, that's not supposed to be there, other than what's necessary and specifically important for fulfilling the promise that God has for you, right? That's your part.
That is a very good
the circumcision, the Adam and Eve banging the snake in the garden.
You don't even know where to go.
As like, how does that gain them wisdom? Like, how did that open their eyes?
Now you see. Like, what did you do?
This is about to get explicit, dude. But like, yeah, while they're making love, all of a sudden their pupils dilate. They're like, oh, they weren't. The snake was even there, and the snake didn't even force him. He just like, God didn't say that, and then Eve ate, and she's like,
he didn't even say God didn't. He said, surely God didn't say.
He knows you want to be like God. The same sin that the devil kind of fell to. Anyway,
yeah.
So that's chapter 10. We have a lot more chapters to get through.
11.
11 is the first time he says a very important phrase. If you read from chapter 11, verse 26 to 28, this is going to be kind of the key theme, and he's going to repeat this at the very end in his third address. But he comes with this attitude with all three of these addresses that Moses is giving to these Israelites. He has this call to action, right? Nathan, if you will read from chapter 11, starting with verse 26 to 28.
Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside from the way which I command you today, to go after other gods which you have not known.
That's essentially like I said earlier, and like Nathan mentioned, this is the essence of the law. This is the essence of the blessing that they will inherit. It is set before them to make the decision whether or not they're going to walk in the blessing or whether or not they're going to be cursed and be removed from that blessing, which is the law. Which, again, if we remember in hindsight the history of the Israelites, they're, spoiler alert, going to mess up a bunch. Chapters 12 to 26 of the second address is specific laws for the land when they go in to inherit the land of the promised land. Instructions on worship, justice, daily life, all things to do with like, once you've done this, once you've conquered, once you're there as a people, these are the things you should do. Like chapter 12, centralized worship only at God's chosen place. That's important because God doesn't want them to be, there's a very specific word he uses. I'm going to try to find it real quick, but not to be near certain Asherah groves and not to be in certain high places like they see
certain trees,
not to slaughter certain ways, and not to like it gets in the weeds a little bit. I'm not going to read it out to you, but chapter 13 is just absolutely no tolerance for idolatry and the punishment for apostates. Nathan, actually, if you start with verse 1 and 13, it's kind of funny. You read, it's not funny, but read chapter 13, starting with verse 1 until I stop you.
If there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder comes to pass, of which he spoke to you, saying, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them, you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams. For the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul.
Oh,
How do you explain? How do you? Does that mean that God is making them dream to serve other gods to test them, or is that just they're
no,
trying?
I
They're
don't think so.
Possessed to do that, or they become witches to try to do that, like we talked about earlier.
I think it's a Job type of thing where God is allowing a different entity, or maybe a lowercase g God, to take control and to just kind of see who they are faithful to.
It's important to note that verse 5, if I let him keep reading, that the dreamer or prophet will be put to death. So I think it's like, take him out the camp and kill him.
Now they've been
that means that because there will be a lot of mixing and there will be this issue with idolatry, inevitably some of the members of the Israelites will be susceptible towards following some type of witchcraft, some idolatry, worshiping other gods, in which case these spiritual forces, they're mentioned in the Bible, and God has commandments against them because they're real and they have power, and they have, like, even Balaam, he was famous because he was a successful seer. People knew him from around because, like, if whoever he curses gets cursed.
Kings.
You know what I mean? He was hired with a large sum, not because he was a nobody. Yeah. So this is something that will come up. And he's like, when you see this, it's very important. Well, obviously, if they're saying to follow other gods, don't. Just like, what does Jesus say later? This is like very parallel to what Jesus said when he's like, if anybody comes after you and says anything that's against what I say, or say, oh, look, over there is Jesus, or over here is Jesus, or, you know, this is the spirit of the Antichrist that comes upon you. Don't listen to them. Anything that's different than the words that I've preached to you, this is not the truth, because people will inevitably come up and try to throw shade and try to throw confusion.
It's the same thing with test the spirits, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be able to discern. There's a reason why discerning spirits is a gift, because you don't know if a prophecy is coming from God or if it's coming from a spirit that you obviously, once you open the door to the spiritual realm, things can happen.
Well, yeah, this is the way he's telling them to test prophets, dreamers of dreams, people that say words.
Dude,
like if it leads to Elijah, anything that's not,
that's going to be a
lot of this is
rigorous type of way of. You couldn't just be a prophet. Nobody could just, let me just go be a prophet. There was a whole testing phase where any prophecy you had, they were going to completely dissect it and go through it to make sure that did come from God. It wasn't just we say it and it's good.
Remember how kind of we talked about the fact that how we chose scripture, or how scripture was canonized, right? Canonized scripture. One of the main ways that the prophets, like by the time Jesus came around, the Old Testament was essentially solidified as like, these are proven. It's because like whatever prophecies, Isaiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, these words that they said would come to pass. They're in alignment and not contradictory to God's laws and commandments, and that they're accepted by the population as like divinely inspired. Those are the parameters by which they measured whether or not this would be considered scripture. So obviously, if somebody's coming up, even if the things they say happen, even if it's confirmed, like it comes to pass, like he says, tomorrow it's going to rain, but we should go worship Baal. If it rains, you still don't worship Baal. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Obviously, there's some influence there, but do not turn from the Lord your God. It's just kind of a repeating of that. So,
but they get these warnings and
constantly.
We have literally with the Antichrist. We have the same exact warning.
But they just follow Baal. Like, why do they worship Baal so much, man?
There's a lot of sex in that one.
That's why they worship Baal so much,
right? Was that the one, or which one was the one? It wasn't the one that Balaam sent out all the prostitutes, and they were just like, "Oh, that's it. It's can't turn these prostitutes down." Like, it's crazy.
Not only were they prostitutes,
chapter 14,
they were also priestesses.
Priestess. I mean, it was like, that's kind of what they would do. They would sexually worship, if you will.
That's crazy.
Clean. Chapter 14, clean and unflewed clean. clean and unclean foods.
No. Clean and unfood clean. That's what they're talking about. Unfood clean.
I like that.
The sabbatical year, the releasing of debts. It's kind of repeating the annual feasts. Chapter 17.
Can we go over the annual feast? I'm just
no. I like the releasing of debts one. That one's nice.
Laws on judges, kings, and legal authority. That's important. Chapter 17.
Is there anyone with increasing my credit somewhere?
Chapter 18, very important. This is one of the most important Old Testament messianic prophecies. In chapter 18, verse 15, Nathan, if you would read that for us, Moses pronounces to them something that they should pay attention to, and kind of people they will point to the Messiah.
The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst, from your brethren. Him you shall hear, according to all you desired of the Lord your God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, nor let me see this great fire anymore, lest I die.
So the question is, that most people, I think Joshua asked me that, is like, okay, of another prophet like me from your midst, weren't there many prophets after Moses? Like, why would this be a messianic prophecy?
Why are you asking me this right now?
Because it's a conversational podcast.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Obviously, I set the question up to have the answer, guys.
Yes,
You're supposed to at least play along.
I don't.
You can talk about devil trees, but you can't answer the question.
I'll tell you one guy that was like, if I saw that guy, I'd be like, "Ooh, this is like Moses. It's all over again." I mean, like Elijah, Moses never brought anybody back from the dead,
bro. Even John the Baptist was like, "Oh, is this Elijah again?"
Yeah. I mean, there's some of them out there, but Elisha.
Oh, but so did Elijah.
Elijah did as well. Brought somebody back from the dead. Which is the one that laid on the kid's body?
That's Elisha.
That's why I always reference.
But so did Elijah.
Who did he bring back from the dead?
The widow's kid.
By laying on top of him?
He went over him 3 times.
That was Elisha.
It was also Elijah.
They both did that same thing?
Yes.
Oh, must have not been there that Sunday.
I hope you're right, because somebody's going to check you. Either way, to answer
Elijah, the widows, that was First Kings, and then Elisha does it the same thing where he puts his hand, his face, everything over him.
Yeah.
To answer your question, it could have been Joshua.
Yeah, that's the one where he laid over his face. Yeah, the Shumanite. Yeah, they both do it.
I always thought for the early part of my life, I always thought only Elijah did it. And now in the later part of my life, I only think Elisha did it.
It's so crazy how, like, on the pod, like when the camera's rolling, I can doubt the things I know because you say it in a way I'm like, am I wrong? I knew that for sure, but yeah.
Okay, so they see somebody bringing somebody from the dead. Moses never did that, and they aren't like, oh, this is him. This is the Messiah.
That's true.
How come they never thought they were the Messiah?
Well, that's a good question. If you read chapter 18, you continue on with the passage. When he says there will be another like me, and it's also interesting that the book of Deuteronomy also says there will never be a prophet like Moses again.
But then he's like, but there's going to be another like
Listen to the one that comes after me. He begins to talk about the way that he interceded. It is very interesting. If you read the context, he brings up the fact that they need an intercessor. Jesus, our mediator and intercessor, goes up before God and acts in that same role as Moses did on the mountain. Remember when God's presence left because of the sin of the golden calf, and that they needed somebody to go in between them and talk.
Which was Moses.
So when he says a prophet like me, and in the context talks about a prophet that can mediate between them and God, it's like the only other prophet that carried out that role, the only other person that carried out that role was Jesus as the Messiah.
Well,
interceding
on the
behalf of people.
A Messiah, like, what is the term of Messiah? Well, like, what really does it mean? Other than, because it's not what him being called Messiah was not, I wouldn't say was necessarily the thing that got him killed. It was the fact that he was proclaiming that he was the Son of God is what got him killed. Because they were expecting Messiah and they were excited to see the Messiah, but what really got everybody riled up was him saying, or was everybody else referring to him as also the Son of God, because he would say it a couple times.
Or well, it was that and a bunch of other things like, healing and doing things on the Sabbath and teaching others to
Messiah is basically someone anointed by God to come and, let's say, rule or to save. So technically,
that's the
King
definition.
David could have been a Messiah. Moses could have been a Messiah. Joshua could have been a Messiah. All these characters. I say characters as if we're talking about a nonfiction book or something, or a fictional book.
We are talking about a nonfiction book.
I say characters as if we're talking about a story.
A fiction book is what you mean.
A fictional book. I get those mixed up sometimes. Sorry.
Because all of this is just fiction.
Fiction just means fake, right? Not fake.
That's a good way to remember it. I always use like the movie Stranger Than Fiction. That's what comes like stranger than something not real.
That's where you.
That's how I remember
fake and not fake.
When
come on, do your brain a favor here.
Well, really, when did the idea of a
the way I remember my passcode is I think about my mom's best friend's birthday that I met once. When did the idea
of a Messiah actually start happening to the Jews? To the Israelites?
In Genesis,
no.
Whenever the seed was crushed the head of the serpent.
No,
that was them. They knew. They knew that it was a promised child, and that was passed along through the sons of Seth. And then Abraham, whenever he was promised this future, then they knew they were part of a greater destiny, and that there was one that was supposed to come and save them. When Moses makes these claims,
yes, but the fact is, when the Israelites were under Roman rule, they were waiting for a Messiah to come and save them and defeat the Romans.
Man,
they weren't waiting for the Son of God.
What point are you making?
They were waiting for the Messiah, the Son of God. That whole thing was a whole twist to all.
They never thought that God, because to them, your God is one. Like they thought God can't have a son in the way they perceive God. That's why they never were waiting for the Son of God.
This goes really deep, but obviously Isaiah and Daniel, there's prophecies that kind of point towards a divine lineage that he'll be king.
But that's because we see it.
No, yeah,
we're not going to get too much deep because that's such a deep thing.
But over here, they're just kind of that there's going to be somebody coming after me. My question is, how come they never thought Elijah was the one after him? And your answer was, he didn't intercede.
There was never anybody like Moses, because it was like someone will come like me, and then they were like, well, there was never anybody like Moses, so nobody was ever held on that pedestal.
Okay. So, yeah.
But when Moses himself was referring to the Messiah, he didn't know, I don't think, everything, but I think he saw, we talked about this, that being in the presence of God, he would have been spiritually connected to understand the future and the plan of God.
Unless he was in the presence of Jesus, and that's what he saw when he was on the when he was enlightened, when he asked God, "Show me your glory." It might have been he saw Jesus. He saw God.
No, he saw the past, whatever I said then.
So when Jesus was going through his shining moment, what do you call it?
The transfiguration.
The transfiguration moment, and he was shining. That's probably why Moses' face ended up shining, because he saw Jesus, and that's who he was talking about.
Well, we talked about that, how that could have, it could have been like an interdimensional time, like where he was talking, Jesus is, he was talking with Elijah and Moses on the transfiguration, right? That's what the disciples, they look up and they see Moses on one side, Elijah on the other, and they're all conversing. And every single one of them happens to have a moment of like, I'm on a mountain and I see the goodness of God, which passes by me. And then Elijah gets taken up by a fire chariot. And who knows what happened in the tornado of fire. You know what I mean? It could have been, all right, we're going to make a quick stop.
Why did you go there? So the goodness of God, and then Elijah gets taken with a fire chariot.
Because they both have like this moment where they could have intersected, and then I don't think.
Because the transfiguration was Elijah and Moses.
It wasn't a fire chariot. It wasn't a fire chariot. It was a spaceship. Okay.
It was definitely
a ship.
Whatever you want to call it, that.
It was a Hyundai Tucson.
You know what we don't hear about in heaven? We don't hear about any horses.
That's not true.
All right.
What?
Jesus is going to come down like riding like a horse with swords coming out of his mouth. In Revelation.
Gotcha.
And then the 4 horsemen.
So, in the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Bro, have you ever read Revelation?
They're on the earth.
It's creepy.
Yes, they I've read Revelation.
I like asking dumb questions.
Anyway,
hey, you know what we should do? We should do a Bible podcast.
we should talk about what we need to talk about. Chapter 20 covers the rules of warfare. Very important.
Dude, we're only on 20?
We're going to move kind of quick.
12 through 26.
Again, this is we've
conspiracy theories.
We already covered a lot of these while we moved through Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. And again, we didn't really go super deep, like fairness and legal economic dealings. I'm not gonna.
What about divorce?
Yeah, we're not gonna go over that.
Just us for the vulnerable.
Unsolved murders, marrying captives,
what
rebellious sons. 21 is kind of cool. I would read chapter 21.
Yeah, read chapter 21 of Deuteronomy. That's the only one you need to read.
That's not true. But I read all this, and it's like to get into it on the time frame that we have is going to be really tough.
The judges had to go and measure. They had to go and measure.
Josh, we'll get into it.
From where the guy was slain to all the way to the city, to the nearest city.
Okay.
So they had
what
to
are you
go
looking
measure.
at right now?
How what?
Okay. Nothing. It felt like you were actually measuring and looking at a city.
He was.
I was.
He was for sure.
That's a very, they went deep into that whole thing.
Solving murders.
Yeah.
Yep.
How did they measure it? Did
Chapter 28 ends the second.
How many steps did you take?
Chapter 28 ends the
Okay. Chapter 28
ends the second address or the second speech of Moses.
Aha, but you have it till chapter 30.
I really wish that we
talks-
did this whole Deuteronomy as like a bundle, because these are some interesting things that they talk about.
Well, these will come up later. Like they'll be interspersed through the actual stories of the Bible. But if we really, it's none of us have been educated enough to really dive deep into the laws of Moses to really break it down.
No man is
I beg to differ.
Deviltry.
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 What makes a person educated?
College education.
An accredited establishment confirming the
created by
education.
man.
Preferably in the Ivy League.
If you are close to the Lord, if you are close to God, that makes you more educated.
Technically, you're correct. The apostles were uneducated.
I'm not going to disagree with you because it'd be rude. But
I mean, when it comes to actually breaking days down, I'd like to keep it as simple as possible because we could,
Come on, let's get to Moses.
I think you all know what I'm trying to say.
Better to talk deep.
Let's get to where Moses died.
Let's get to the death of Moses. You know what we're trying to get to here.
The devil is a tree.
Yes.
I hate how you just stopped talking after that. You just said the devil is a tree and then didn't say anything.
I'm saying that it's better that we talk deep about the stuff in Deuteronomy than start talking about the devil as a tree and other stuff like that.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Chapter 28 is crazy if you ever read it because God goes into the specifics of the blessings and the specifics of the curses. It's a long chapter, so I'm not going to make Nathan read everything.
No.
But he talks about blessed will you be in your city and blessed will you be in your country. Blessed shall be the fruit of your body. Produce, the ground that
it's almost
your
as
herbs.
if you
28, chapter 28 is a quick 68 verses. What are you talking about, dude? I can read that.
Blessed shall you be when you go in and when you come out. And he goes even blessed shall you be whenever people come against you and they'll come at you one way and they'll flee from you in 7 directions. And, it's really, really cool. And then it goes to the exact opposite.
You will be blessed.
And if you disobey, you'll be cursed. That is the whole main idea of Deuteronomy. All we had to say was that. But 28 kind of goes into it deep. Now, 29 is kind of renewing the covenant and reminding them and warning the Israelites what will happen if they turn away. Essentially, they'll be taken out of the land. And it's very, very deep.
Yeah, because your
29
contract
verses
will run out
for chapter 29.
will expire.
Chapter 30 covers.
So you have to renew your contract.
No,
I don't know about that. Chapter 30 is the final point where I was talking about earlier, the choice of life and death. Nathan, if you read from chapter 30, verse 15, this is
life.
This is again that final like climactic call to action from Moses to the Israelites, to this new young generation after kind of going through painstakingly every law and every statute, ritual, ceremonial, warfare.
How many verses you want me to read? Because it kind of goes in like till the end.
No, it's really 2 verses.
Just 15 and 16?
Mm-hmm.
All right. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil. In that I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, that you may live and multiply, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away, so that you do not hear, and are drawn away, and worship other gods, and serve them, I announce to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you cross over the Jordan to go in and possess.
Read 19 too.
I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that both you and your descendants may live.
That you may love. I'm just kidding. We could read the whole thing, but that's
what I'm saying. It doesn't stop.
No, but that right there, choose life, obviously, is where I wanted to get to. Yeah, it's up to them. It's literally, and that's a theme that will carry into the book of Joshua when we get into the story again. That is going to be a major theme of the rest of their conquest of Canaan. So chapter 30, chapter 31, you have the commission of Joshua as the new leader and the law given to the Levites. Yeah. And then chapter 32, we've talked about how Joshua was selected, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but chapter 32, we see Moses becomes a little bit of a songwriter.
No, he sings a long song, so you never do.
It's a song of Israel. It's kind of interesting because it's like not a very happy song. Like it's kind of like Moses knows, like, hey, choose life, choose obedience. I know you won't. Like, I've spent enough time with you guys to know that you're going to fail. But when you do repent, when you do turn your face back to God, God will be gracious enough to bring you back and to restore you. I know that you're going to mess up, but when you're taken out of the land, like you're promised, if you fail and if you disobey, cursed will be. And what cursing means is that God's going to remove them from the promised land, which happens. Turn your face back to God, repent, and God is gracious enough to take you back. So that's Moses's address to the Israelites. I know we kind of went all over the place a little bit, but again, we're a Bible story podcast mostly, so it's kind of like
there is no story there. It was all just an address.
Technically, yeah, it's like reading a speech and being like, so anyway.
We could have really talked about the first 32 chapters by just being like, yeah, he gave him a long speech.
Moses blesses the tribes of Israel. He blesses them by tribe in chapter 33 of Deuteronomy. He goes through, and this is his final blessing, which I think is kind of beautiful. Kind of like Abraham blessed his sons. He goes through and blesses each of the Israelites. And
then my favorite chapter is chapter 34.
Chapter 34 is the end of Deuteronomy, and it covers the death of Moses. Moses goes and climbs up from the plains of Moab onto what's called Mount Nebo. There he is shown. Actually, Nathan, read the first 4 verses.
Keep in mind, Moses wrote this book. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is across from Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the south and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zoar. Then the Lord said to him, this is the land of which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there.
Interesting to note, again, if Moses wrote Deuteronomy, how did he write? And Moses went and died. You know what I mean? It's kind of wild. Joshua is believed to have later inserted this chapter. And it's interesting the way that he says what he showed, because obviously Joshua was given the responsibility of the inheritance separation or dishing out the inheritance. So when Moses is shown these sections of the promised land as inherited the land of, it's kind of like showing that he wrote that later. So
the reason why I like the kid that Moses wrote it, because in verse 7, you could be like Moses wrote, because like Moses was 120 years old when he died, and his eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigor diminished. Like, bro, of course you would write that.
But I think it was more like Joshua fanboying over him. Like, no, Moses was still strong to the very end.
Yeah, he's writing. He was still perfectly fine.
It was good, because you know what's funny? Joshua later says the same thing about himself. He's like, I am still strong. Like, it's literally something he says.
I'm not ready to die.
Joshua 14. He's like, I've been with you guys for 40 years and I'm still as strong as I was when I was younger. No, that's definitely.
He died at 120 years old. The same number that God said that he was going to limit the lifespan of a human. He said that he was going to have them. And
these are the days of a man, 120 years.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone to be this close to God and God take him at the very, I don't know. Do you think he died the day before his birthday? Because he's not 121, or maybe
that's a great question, Josh.
Birthday 120, I don't know. That's
why would it matter? I mean, if I died, okay, if it's next year,
because
I'm 30
God
right
is
now,
someone.
Right?
Wait, because God is someone who obviously did everything to a T. Every law, everything that he had the Israelites do, it was an exact thing that he required. So if God is saying no one will live past, and we don't know of anyone that has lived past 120 years old to this day. So if God says no one will live past 120 years, then it wasn't, I don't believe that he was 120 years and 3 days. At 120 years, done. Because that is what he promised, and that was what he set in stone by his words. You know what I mean?
There's some people that claim to have been older than 120 since then.
There's also some people who have claimed to have been Jesus.
120.
That's true. That's a good retort. Honestly, can't argue that at all.
Well, this one was fully authenticated. I mean, this lady looks like she probably died.
I bet you they were off.
She lived 22 more years as a ghoul.
But also that is for man. We're not talking about people who are hybrids. We are not talking about reptilians. We're not talking about giants. Because giants,
yeah, you're right. Actually.
We know that there were giants in those days. Wait, we know that there were giants in those days. Those giants,
they didn't live long though.
Were not human, right?
Tall giants. People don't really live a long time.
They were a different breed of man.
I saw a video earlier that really kind of freaked me out a little bit. It was, I forgot who, famous bodybuilder or some athlete. But he was like, name one person you know over 300 pounds that's over 80.
No, name one person.
Some guy was like, James Earl Jones was like huge until like 93 or whatever. And I was like, I felt a little bit better, but.
No, but like super tall, like, and I'm not talking, you're tall, you're 6'6",
yeah.
But I'm talking about tall, like 6'8", 7 footers, 7'2".
I think LeBron's would be fine.
Dude, do you know any of those ball players that live past 70?
Yeah.
Who?
I don't know.
Not a lot of them.
I said, yeah, like confidently.
Yeah, you don't even watch sports. I do.
But either way,
I think we should get into the.
What?
Oh, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is 78.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Well, before we
he's
get into
7'2".
I wanted to say it's like we don't see Moses' wife
he's
anymore,
in his 50s,
nor his children.
They're not important.
62.
Oh, I thought he was older.
The very same children that Jethro blessed. Jethro talked about Whatever. Doesn't matter too much.
Sure. Yeah. So Moses died and was buried in the Lord. This is the important part.
Where was he buried?
The word of the Lord, and was buried in the valley of the land of Moab, opposite of Beth Peor. But no one knows where his grave is to this day. Why? This is how we're going to end it. I mean, I know we're kind of deep into this, but we're going over this.
Because his body was taken.
His body was taken, and his body was hidden by God and buried off of Mount Nebo. Joshua, before he died, was full of this. This is important to mention before we get into that, because I want to end with that. Joshua was, again, the next leader, and he was full of the Spirit and of a spirit of wisdom, because Moses laid his hands on him. So the children of Israel heeded him and did as the Lord commanded, or the Lord had commanded Moses. But since then, there's a verse that says, there has not arisen a prophet like Moses. We talked about that a little bit earlier, who the Lord knew face to face, and all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt before Pharaoh's, all his servants, and all his lands. Should have had Nathan read this, but this is interesting. By all that mighty power and great terror which Moses performed in the sight of all of Israel. Great terror is just an interesting word to use there, but it's very interesting that it's nobody else did that and knew God face to face like that. That's another thing about Jesus, is that on the God face to face, he was God.
Other than Moses, anyway, what other prophet, what other person that God used did God allow for great terror to happen through them?
I mean, Elijah calling fire from...
That's pretty terrifying.
Killing all those people. And then the whole bears murdering the children that called them a baldy.
They weren't
kind
of children.
Terrible.
They weren't children. They were young adults.
They were like 20-year-olds.
Okay, well, the youngins calling them a baldy.
Go up here, bald head. Go up from here, bald head.
And then bears eat them.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more to that story than
I really want to get into the actual end of Moses here, because we've used a lot of time, and I want to get over this question. There's
the death of Moses.
Okay, not only the death of Moses, but Jude chapter 1 verse 9 specifically recounts a very interesting snippet that tells us a little bit about the spiritual background of the death of Moses. That's a very heavy topic of debate. Nathan, if you will read Jude chapter 1 verse 9.
Yet Michael the archangel, in contending with the devil when he disputed about the body of Moses, dared not bring against him a reviling accusation, but said, "The Lord rebuke you."
The implications from that verse are astronomical. Essentially, what it's saying is that at some point after the Lord took the body of Moses after he passed away, before burial, or maybe after, that the devil laid claim to the body of Moses and actually fought over it, to the point where the archangel Michael had to contend and fight against the devil for the body of Moses.
Yeah.
That's in the Bible. But the question is, like, why? I thought this is what I wanted to talk about, a little bit.
Oh, why did
y'all got nothing? Y'all got nothing about the devil fighting?
Give us a chance to respond.
So basically,
you asked the question 4 seconds ago.
The devil strolls up. So it must have been after, because obviously they bury Moses. The people bury Moses, right? So they
no. Yeah, God takes his body and nobody knows where he's buried.
My bad.
Kind of like Genghis Khan.
A little bit.
Very different from Genghis Khan.
Remember the whole Genghis Khan
Josh's eyes.
Remember my whole Genghis Khan theory, where he was some people that he was Jesus?
No, and I don't want to.
What is with you? Never mind. We're going to talk about that off air.
Listen,
we talked about this before, that he was. But either way, okay.
So the reason that God didn't want the people to know where Moses was buried, Well, so they don't start worshiping. Those people were stupid. They don't worship anything, much less Moses's bones.
But they knew that they knew that Moses was just basically a third party for God. They knew that.
Or
there was no.
Or maybe Moses was still glowing, and they're just like, let's get that God power.
Okay, well, yeah. That's a good point. Or maybe his skull had horns. Remember, because the horns instead of glowing. We've covered this. We've been on Moses for a long time. We've had a lot of episodes on Moses, but this portion of Jude, which is in the New Testament, is interesting to me because
Jude that referred to the Book of Enoch.
Yes, he mentions quite a few apocryphal texts or pseudepigraphal texts. Where this is brought up and where this is mentioned is it was discovered. I have it written here in my notes because I did some research because I really looked this up, but there is something called the Assumption of Moses or the Testament of Moses. It's an early first century apocryphal text which recounts a dialogue of prophecies between Moses and Joshua. This was supposed to be like a book that talks about the final words that maybe Moses spoke to Joshua before he passed away on the mountain as he laid his hands on his head. There's very little left of that book. They've largely lost. We don't have it. We don't have translations of it. But early first and second century theologians and scholars, they would refer to this book quite often. Origen in 185 to 230, I mean, that's where he lived, was an early church scholar and theologian writer who famously, referenced the Assumption of Moses, as being the source for 1 Jude chapter 1, verse 9. There's also Clement of Alexandria, Galatius of Cyzicus, and then this most recently came up and was rediscovered by Antoni Serrani in 1861. And this is where he kind of rediscovered Seriani, the manuscript discovered had fragments of the Testament of Moses or the Assumption of Moses. And the Serrani manuscript is pretty much where they get any credible source of what could be the source material for Jude and these other ancient early apostolic fathers to kind of reference this. So that portion there is extremely interesting to say the least. But if you read the context of Jude 1 verse 9, when he talks about this occurrence, I don't think he's mainly just like when his referencing of the Book of Enoch, he's not as much referencing it to tell us a crazy history that we don't know, but more if you read that book, it's about spiritual warfare and how we should comport or how we should combat those spiritual entities, that we shouldn't use our own power or our own ability, because Archangel Michael, being someone that was so big, is right there close to God. It was endued with inevitably power. But he doesn't rebuke it in his own power. He uses the Lord's authority, and that's what he rebukes the devil with. Just like us, when we encounter demonic spirits, witchcraft, anything like that, we use the Lord's power. That is what gives us the victory over those things. So we invoke the name of Jesus when we rebuke. We don't rebuke like, I rebuke you. No, you say the Lord rebuke you.
That's the correct
That's the correct way to combat spiritual warfare.
Combat spirits with witchcraft.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting that like this isn't the only occurrence in the Bible that talks about this idea of angelic battle with different demonic entities or dark spiritual forces. Like Daniel chapter 10 famously references that while he was waiting for a response for 21 days from the Archangel Gabriel, he fought against the Prince of Persia who interceded who kind of came against him, and it was necessary that Archangel Michael had to come and intervene again.
Isn't it interesting that the Prince of Persia movie has the Prince of Persia actually like using a bunch of magic and magical sand to travel through time to do all these things? Prince of Persia.
I haven't seen that movie since I was so young, and I remember zero about that movie.
Who's in that movie? Really good
Jake
movie.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
I remember pieces of it. I remember the video game that came out with it. I remember
the video game's very old.
Yeah, I'm talking about they remade like a PlayStation video game when the movie came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I
So
okay, you go.
One last thing, and this is important to note because Jude's use of apocryphal text does not discount their reliability as canon. Paul himself occasionally used like secular literature to support his ideas, and later in like some of his letters in the New Testament. Famously, he refers to different Greek poets and philosophers like Menander and Epimenides, and Aratus. There's different places in the New Testament that you see that it doesn't mean that those things are like 100% true, but there can be, like we talked about with the Book of Enoch in the past, there could be parts of it that don't contradict scripture, that don't cause any harm, that support and maybe add a little bit of background. They're important readings, but they're not scripture. So I think it's very interesting to point that out.
Just because it's not scripture doesn't mean it's not history. So you don't.
He also quotes Cretan, or the Cretan poet. I already said that. I'm sorry. I'm like reading my notes. Sorry. I don't want to repeat myself, but that's all I had to say about the matter.
It's like a pastor nowadays
saying
statistics by this doctor or a history thing
exactly
by this person. It's not that it's not true, it's just not scripture, but just because it's not scripture doesn't mean it's not true. It's the same. It's that. Yeah,
like just because you source, like you said, like a scientific, writing or letter or a report doesn't mean that that's the Bible now, but you can use that to kind of understand. Like obviously in that early 1st and 2nd century, those people had access to something called the Assumption of Moses that was, again, an apocryphal text that was influenced even in the Bible, just like the Book of Enoch.
You gotta like, nowadays we have technology, we have videos, we have things that we can use with that. Back in the day, it was all books and literature. That was the
scrolls.
So yeah, I mean, if you were a scholar, that's all you were doing was looking and researching and reading, and that was the highlight. But now we have all these other things. But if I can backtrack a little bit on what my theory is for the death of Moses.
Please.
What I think what could have happened when the devil
Back
shows
up,
because he accuses. It's such a meek, and it's such a like the dumbest thing to go after Moses for. Oh, he killed a man. I mean, obviously that's a big deal.
What?
But the amount of death that occurred under the guise of Moses. I mean, how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of Israelites died under the rulership of Moses?
All of them.
Oh, 10.
They all the ones that came and crossed over the Red Sea, except for Joshua and Caleb. Everybody that Moses stood up and said, "Come on, guys!" Every single one of them were dead, except for Joshua and Caleb.
Yet Moses basically is being accused of killing this one man that actually did commit an atrocity. The devil tries to go after him because of that and tries to take his body. Why? What was so important about the body of Moses that they had to try to go find and try to get him and try to fight over him? I think it could have been Moses had the ability to do some very miraculous things, very, very important things, and God was able to speak through him. His face was shining. There was something different about the actual body of Moses, to the point that even God had to take the body and go bury it and hide it, and nobody can even find it.
I know where he's going with this. Yeah.
Because the devil.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Well, if it is a sort of type of, let's say,
deviltry.
Well, no, not even deviltry.
I know. I'm sorry.
But if he was able to almost like think of
anti-Bush,
think of a Lex Luthor type of thing where you're trying to go get a sample of
Superman's DNA,
to create your own Superman. So
like
he's trying
Bizarro.
to go. What made Moses so special? He's trying to go get what made him so special to try to recreate that special and have almost, let's say, he could have his own army of that. All the devil is.
I've seen
a copycat
Man of Steel.
Whatever. all the devil is a copycat.
That wasn't in Man of Steel.
He does. He tries to
Oh
copycat
yeah,
whatever
that's
God
how
does.
Doomsday. That's not how the comic was.
Whatever about the.
No, I'm saying what he's saying is like the way that in the beginning of the movie, how the codex was like scanned into the body and the DNA of Superman. That was what they used to reproduce and like make more babies of Kryptonians.
Batman versus Superman is the one where
you're thinking about that. And so then they came back and they were trying to take, because it was hidden in his DNA. They needed his DNA to reproduce and create more Kryptonians, but they also wanted to like kill humanity.
So you think the devil wanted Moses' DNA?
He wanted Moses because he spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because his face shone, obviously God's DNA imprinted on.
And
Moses.
and this is why I want
to. There has to have been.
This is why I want to poke a hole in that theory
with the actual body parts and not even also the cannibalization, because let's say some people believe even with sacrifice
cannibalization.
Yes, the cannibalization.
If you eat, you become that. You get that person's stuff.
Especially with eating the heart or eating the brain.
Yeah,
there's
well, yeah, we've heard of
I am
that.
very familiar.
A lot of tribes, a lot of warrior classes,
actually.
like they'll eat the hearts of their enemy or the brains. Like, that's a thing.
Or
there's
one tribe. There's one tribe. I forgot what tribe it was, but in other words, they would require a sacrifice. So they would get a sacrifice of basically a child from their tribe, and then they would kill the child and eat the heart of the child as a preparation for a battle that they're about to go fight.
Yes. Do we still do that?
That's a more recent type of thing. But
yeah. So when rich people go to war, why do they always send the poor?
Nathan.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything?
Poor.
I don't know. So this is why me poking a hole in that theory. Because why couldn't the devil just get his DNA at any point in time for over the span of all those years? Like, you think Moses never like spit on the ground or something? Like, why would he have to be the body, the dead body? Like, he could have gotten the DNA at any point in time, right? So why wait till the body?
Just trying to source that correctly.
Okay.
He didn't want it, like Nathan said earlier. I honestly believe it's because they would like make a deity out of him. They would his birthplace or his burial place and all that. They would definitely, just like with the bronze serpent. Later, the bronze serpent eventually becomes kind of like an idol of worship that needs to be taken down, because even that they're like, oh, we need to just they literally
that's God now.
Yeah, do you think that God would have allowed the people to bury Moses?
No.
Why?
Because the devil, before it says the devil showed, we don't know when the devil showed up to fight over his body. We just know that he died on a mountain and God took his body and buried him. So we know that based upon the way the Deuteronomy is written, he successfully took the body and successfully buried him. Unless Joshua just had no idea that that happened. And in which case, then it kind of contradicts the whole idea of the testament of Moses, or the assumption of Moses, because it should be a recounting of the conversation between Moses and Joshua. And I'm assuming what happens afterwards. Joshua will have spiritual encounters. I'm very excited to get into the book of Joshua, because he will have, like, specifically with the commander of the armies of heaven, he runs into him and falls face first. That's going to be fun. And then, there's a lot of supernatural things that happen in that book, as well as a lot of cool action and a lot of battles. So finishing Deuteronomy and finishing the Pentateuch is an extremely large milestone for us as a podcast. And we're very excited to have gotten through it and gotten to this point. It's just been so much. It's been so long. I wish I could have a better brain to be able to kind of give you guys the highlights real quick, but I really encourage you guys to go back and listen, and obviously listen with some grace, understanding that, again, we are more of a lighthearted Bible story podcast as much as a conspiracy.
It's so not
fun-toting.
lighthearted. That's the problem. I mean, we are so deep. We talk about a lot of deep things that it is not.
I like to say that to
You'd like to say that to make yourself feel better. I don't know.
Exactly, honestly, because I don't want the responsibility of giving real facts and being held accountable for what we say.
Let's
deviltry.
We talk are we
doing a greater meaning to this?
No, with the end of the parts of Moses, we are doing our favorite Moses moment.
Oh yeah, Moses moments.
Cue the music, Josh.
I got crickets in the background. That's my music.
Joshua had.
Well, I got the perfect song.
Nathan, I see where you're. Nathan, this is awful.
All right, go.
Oh, I go first.
Yeah,
My
you always
favorite,
go first.
My favorite Moses moment, and I'm going to keep it short because we're really deep in here.
Oh, I'm not.
Out of all the parts of Moses, obviously going through his life, his birth, his raising in Egypt, and going through the wilderness, and going through the Exodus, and then more wilderness. I really like Moses as a character to see how he developed over time through the books. So where we start off with Moses, as if you remember correctly, I interpreted him as a wannabe savior. Like he had this savior complex, somebody that wanted to do, and then was kind of rejected, and then kind of dejected, and went out into to the wilderness, married Zipporah, and stayed with the Midianites for so long until where he lost his identity. God finding him there and bringing him back. There's a moment that happens during the 10 plagues where he begins to kind of fulfill and kind of fill in the role which God has called out to him. Specifically, I think in Exodus chapter 9, when it's about the 7th plague, is the first time you see Moses begin to act in his own without relying on Aaron. Because up until this point, Aaron had been shouldering him, and kind of everything he did, Aaron spoke for him, and then Moses would do the action, or Aaron would hold the staff and do something. But in specifically when God says, go take the ashes and spread them out for the boils, it says Moses kind of steps up. It doesn't say Aaron and Moses, but you kind of see this moment as the plagues. And from then on, it's specifically like Moses does. Moses speaks. Moses goes. Moses grabs a staff and holds it over the water. And it's kind of like you see a moment. It's almost like that click moment in Moses' life where he finally accepts the calling and kind of grows in confidence by working in what God promised him. And that's my favorite. It's a really weird, obscure moment. It's in the middle of the plagues, but it's like you start to notice Moses finally accept his destiny, if you will. And I think we all have a moment like that where once we've taken that step of faith, once we've walked and lived, and we start to see how God's actually working and he's fulfilling his promises, you have an opportunity to experience that final like acceptance, that final, it's a really beautiful moment of complete realization of how God is wanting to use you for his glory in his life or in your life. So that's my favorite Moses moment. Nathan?
No, Josh's.
Oh, Josh? Sorry.
Yeah, it's Josh's turn.
Yeah. The crickets have a turn.
My favorite Moses moment
But
would have to be
bad. The cricket came in hard after that one, dude. It's like that was bad. I'm sorry.
Josh, can you stop mumbling? Tell us what your favorite Moses moment was.
every single time I start talking, someone starts talking.
I'm stopping.
Okay. My favorite Moses moment would have to be when Moses was on the mountain, not on the mountain. When Moses was talking with God and he was asking for God to show him who he is, to show him his plan, to show, and the moment of desperation, the moment of the point where Moses just really, he couldn't take it anymore. And he's basically begging God, and he's pleading with God to show him who he is, or to show him his plan, or whatever that passage really means, because it could go different ways. And the way that I like to look at it is the way that he's asking God to show him who he is, to show him like, God, I'm following you. But this whole time we're having this relationship, we're having this, hey, do what I have to say, do this, do that. But he never can see the one who he's having this relationship with, which makes it very difficult when you're leading that many people and you're hearing the voice, you're seeing all the miracles and the terrors, you're seeing all of these things happen, but you have no real objective of who you're doing it for and why you're doing it and what the end goal is. It's just follow. And at a certain point in time, maybe you'll understand. but he's never even told from the beginning that he'll understand. It's just, hey, follow me. And all we ever see with all the laws is obey me, obey me, obey me. But why and what for, other than the whole blessing thing? Because, everybody's just obeying God because God forbid if we don't obey him, we'll be cursed. So Moses is there and he's pleading with God, like, why? Show me something so I can have some type of motivation to keep going forward. And God does it. He shows him, which completely changes Moses from then on. Not only does he change emotionally, spiritually, but he changes physically to the point where everybody can see it. It takes the whole be the light of the world to a whole different level, that he actually physically becomes a light, that he actually has to cover because other people are not able to take the light. So that's got to be my favorite moment. I know I've talked about it before.
That's a good one for
sure. It's my favorite, personally.
Yeah, that moment of final breakdown is like, I can't go on. We can't go on without seeing you, without your presence going with us. I know we messed up. Show me your glory. It is just like that. Such a climactic Moses moment. And you're right. He wasn't the same after that. I mean, he messes up after that.
He does mess up. He does.
But everybody, we're human. It shows the humanity of Moses and the imperfection of him.
But that's the story of Jesus.
At that point,
right there, that's the story of Jesus and how God orchestrates almost every one of our lives in a certain sense of like, to truly see God, you have to come to a point of being completely broken and completely in a point of desperation. And only then God can actually show himself to you.
Interesting. I like that.
Okay.
That's really like stereotypical podcast response. It was kind of cringy, but I did like that a lot.
Okay. You guys both kept the same things y'all did.
What?
My favorite Moses.
What are you talking about, Nathan? What thing did we keep? This is the first time we've done this.
My favorite Moses moment, which it's a series of moments. It's like the beginning part of them leaving Egypt, right? Mm-hmm. Parting of the Red Sea, manna from heaven. I love that. Those are my favorite because, like, when I think about it, life has its ups and downs, right? And I love to read about Moses when the chips are down, right? Because it just gives you faith, because God, like, they're facing a large body of water and they have nowhere to go and Pharaoh's chasing them and it's sure death, but God makes a way for them to safely cross by doing something impossible, something that none of them saw that as a viable solution, right? Now they're in the wilderness and nothing to eat. And what do? We're starving to death. And God, again, provides for them manna from heaven. Again, in a way that none of them could possibly see, like, that solution. But God, of course, did.
God did.
I'm not going to do that. But God did. Let me tell you something. Well, no matter what happens in life, right? And this is going, if you're listening, God bless you if you stayed with us this far.
2 hours in.
But life is so unpredictable, right? It's a series of moments. You think that the good times are going to last forever. You think the bad times will never end. That's just kind of how life feels. But let me tell you something. Whenever you're facing your biggest obstacles, turn to Jesus, turn to God, turn to the Bible, read the Word of God in those moments of turbulence. Because I promise you one thing, God is going to bring a solution to your problem that you didn't even see that solution before. And that's the whole point of this, right? That's why we study the Word of God, because God literally, that's where our blessing comes from. And we don't just study the Word so we could be blessed. The more this is the cool, crazy thing about the Bible and about this podcast and everything. The more you try to get closer to the Lord, the more you start to actually love God, not just the things God provides. And that's truly what's, I think, so different about Christianity. Because, like, you know, if you debate what's Christianity, what's, you know, Islam, Buddhism, well, whatever. The more you get to know God in our faith, the real one, the more you start to actually love the Lord, and you stop caring about necessarily the blessings. You just love the Lord because of the way the Lord is, and he pours that love into your heart, and that's what it means. You have peace that passeth understanding, or peace that passes understanding. Is like there's nothing life can throw at you even gets you off your kilter, because you're just steadfast. Even if there's an ocean in front of you, you're just walking on dry land because you have the Lord in your heart. And that's my favorite Moses moment.
That's cheating. That wasn't a Moses moment. That was a greater meeting.
That was a greater
I don't care.
meeting.
Well, we'll take it. It's a good one. And that's it. That is the 6 books down.
You want to know a
66.
Josh fun fact that Josh just thought about?
No,
I'm afraid.
it's 2 hours over.
The
We're so long.
Israelites are the only
did do a
nation
whole book.
with the ites inside of it.
Oh, God. What about the Hittites?
No, the
Yeah.
Hittites are gone. All these ites nations are gone.
One could argue that they've just,
One could argue that the English language definitely changes over time, Joshua. That's not a thing.
yeah.
Well, the only
Okay.
nation that actually endured was Israel.
What about the Midianites?
Midianites are gone. There's no nation of Midian anymore. The people of Midian are probably still there, but scattered, and now a different nation. But the Israelites endured, as God has promised.
Go on YouTube and look up what I understand English in 1800. Bro, English has evolved crazy over the years.
Have you ever read New King James?
It's like,
Have you ever read King James?
That guy loves that
Wagon.
so much.
Like, what?
There's always one.
Why is
there's
wagon
always
still
one
the
word.
same?
Yeah, there's always one word that's the exact same. It's
Yeah.
so dumb.
I'm intrigued.
Oh,
I
man.
haven't never heard of that.
You need to look it up. It's kind of crazy. And guys, we are so happy that you followed us here to the very end. We are so grateful that you followed us through this Moses epic. Be sure, if you like what you hear and you stuck with us to the end, that you like, subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms. Give us that, 5-star review. It helps us tremendously. And don't forget to email us, all the guys that, do. greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. Email us your favorite Moses moment out of all the Moses parts that we did. And stay tuned for next time, whereas we journey into the book of Joshua. This would be a good one for you, Josh. Expect great things.
I'm still wondering what happened to the children of Moses. Why didn't they get the
They're
bury?
there.
Into it now.
Why didn't they
They're
get to bury their father like all the other people
Because-
before?
Does that mean that Zipporah, his wife, died?
I don't know, man. You guys have a wonderful rest of your lives there until the next
Bye.
podcast. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye, everybody. You'll never know the story that we were going to.
You'll never know what happens to the children of Moses.
Close it.
Ha!
Stop it.
End the episode.
End this.
I'm done. Now look at me. I'm done. I'm pressing stop.
It's been so long.
Oh, no.
Did you pee?
Yeah, thank you.
I peed too.
Thank you for checking on me, Nathan.
Oh man, he's not gonna edit that out, dude.
I also picked my nose. I hope he does.
I will.
I hope he caught your gigantic toots walking down the stairs.